YouTube, welcome back to another Oogly Boogly video, and as you can see we are doing advanced TNT cannons and a bit of accessories today, and I'm very excited, so let's hop right into it. And we are at our first design, the ground shot, with a range of a mighty 80 blocks, an area needed 5, which is the width, by 5, which is the length, and 4 height. You may have noticed probably should be 3 high because there's only 2 blocks here, but no, this redstone does count as an additional block because you can't exactly place a block in redstone, can you? So the specialities, low and hard, clues in the name. It's the ground shot, so before I explain it and show you how to build it, let's just see it in action. So we go, the firing of the TNT, and bam, there we go. That would have actually usually been much longer over to there, but because of this ledge, hit the ledge and then it fell down to there. If I just rebuild a bit of the ledge, I wonder we might be able to get that 80 block range that the ground shot is used to doing. So if we just try it again, it should, in theory, be a lot better. I have no idea why. So the problems are fixed. It does no longer do the swooping in the air. It is the ground shot. It shouldn't do that. So now if we just test it out, it should give us our 80 block range. Yes, there we go. That's what we like. So the TNT was fired all the way over here. You can just see all of the sandstone items that have been dropped from the TNT. So yeah, that was quite a mighty explosion. And with, as you can see, we have actually 6, 9. Whoa, that is a lot of dispensers. We have 18 firing dispensers, so that's a decent amount. Well, that will be including, so it's firing the TNT, but if you count the, what would you call it? Oh yeah, last video I called it fuel. Let's call it fuel. Let's go. Fuel TNT, we have 17 of them, which would then power our ignited TNT that will then fly our distance of 80 blocks. So it works fairly simply. As you can see, we have the button here which powers all these dispensers, and then which goes up again and powers all these, as well as then going below to power this dispenser. We use yet again that falling edge of the button. I've explained this before, but I'll go through it again for people who haven't watched my handy guide to TNT cannons video. So basically, when you press the button, let's see it in action. So you press the button, the redstone torch goes off, and then when it goes back on again, it makes the dispenser fire just that little bit later. So it takes the duration of the button for the dispenser to then turn back on again. Because at the moment, this dispenser is currently powered, if you see triggered true. So which means that it will then be unpowered and then powered again, depending on the length of the button. If I replace this with a wooden button, oh no, that's not. I'm used to the old versions. They have different types of wooden buttons now. So if we replace this wooden button, you will see that it will go on a much later due to the wooden button being a longer duration and will explode longer than if we just had the stone button. So how to build? As you can see, we have dispensers with TNT, so we have 9 around the bottom, and then blocks, and then redstone on top. This slab isn't actually needed, so we have the slab at the front, we have the dispenser, we have the very important block that the dispenser would just fire it onto this block and then it would all blow up if we didn't have that, so that's very important. Don't forget that. And then we have the redstone running up along to the second row with the block there with the redstone torch. So the redstone leads into this block, powers it, so the redstone torch will then switch on. And then don't forget, these slabs are just to stop the TNT going way over the top, so it will actually just go much lower, so it hits against the roof and then bounces back, which is pretty much losing energy. But if we didn't have that, well I'll show you. I'll show you what would happen if we didn't have the slabs. That happened. Well, turns out this slab was needed, as now I've just realised it was stopping the TNT from landing on this block from this dispenser and blowing the whole thing up, which was what we just witnessed. And no, that wasn't the cause of the slabs. Some of you may have realised, so let's just see what it would really be like if we didn't have the slabs over the top. So have a look, we can see I have found the issue it has been resolved, so now finally we can be able to see what it's like without the slab. There we go, that's firing, torch is firing, and boom. Off into the distance to go much further, off to explode in the air somewhere around 100 blocks out. So yeah, if we did have a pulse extender on this one, like the mortar which I showcased in the other video, then it would be a very long range weapon. But this isn't a mortar, this is just a ground range short one. That's why we have these slabs in place to stop it from just going completely up and doing no damage. Unless you're aiming at a big build or a big wall that you want to blow up, in which case removing the slabs would be rather helpful. So moving on to our second design in the video, the Slimer. The range of 29 blocks, area needed 3 by 3 and then 6 eyes. And then specialities, only 1 TNT needed. Note that it also is very compact. It's actually got a hole in the middle. Any redstone design with a hole in the middle, I haven't actually noticed that more. It's got to be simple, right? It's got to be simple. So yeah, I actually spent quite a long time compacting this to get in that 3 by 3 area. And I'll show you how it works just a sec after we've seen it fire. And boop. And there we go, into that crater. So this design is actually perfectly made so that the TNT will explode just before it hits the ground. Because if we had ourselves a little bit of artificial flooring here, you will see the TNT will explode just before, or maybe just as it hits that ground. If we look at that. Very efficient TNT. So as to how this works, basically we press the button, the redstone turns on, which ignites the repeater, turning the redstone torch off. So then it will retract this piston, which now has the TNT inside it, which at first I thought was a bad thing, but actually I've realised it does work. So then as the TNT inside it, the redstone torch switches back on after the buttons. That goes instantly back up. Whereas the piston up here has a 2-tick delay, so that's why it's delayed, and therefore we have the going up and then shooting across. Because if we had them both at the same time, well, I'm not gonna show you. That's the real pain to build this. I've built it so many times, you will not know how many times I've rebuilt this from explosions. I have no intention of doing it again, so you just have to imagine what it would look like if I didn't have that delay. So on to the third design of the video, the automatic. Currently with no information because of one of the earlier explosions that we had. Give me a sec, I'll sort it out. So now with that little technical hitch sorted out, we have the automatic, range 75 blocks, area needed 7 by 3 across and then 4 high due to this redstone and the lever. And speciality, it fires automatically thanks to this little setup we have on the end here. So first I'll just fire it and then I'll explain how it works. So there we go, TNT's dispensing, and this is where the automatic part comes into it, because as you can see it is continually firing our TNT miraculously without blowing up, which is probably what I expected when I'm recording, but no, it seems to be working rather nice. So I'll just switch that off for now. So there we go, that's a rather nice demonstration of how this cannon functions. So on to how this design works. So we have a normal TNT cannon here, we just have the delay and then the dispensers with, this doesn't have to be a fence, it could be a slab or just anything that's half a block high to give that TNT the elevation so that it doesn't just ploop like those attempts were there. So apart from that, it's fairly different to a normal TNT cannon. We have this little setup here. So as you can see, this is a clock circuit with 4 repeaters. This is what gives the automatic firing, and then to activate it we have the lever which pulls the piston up, enabling the clock circuit, and then which turns off. The reason you only flick it once is because this observer, it will detect like a pulse and then send one pulse through, which starts off the clock circuit. So obviously this piston would be up so that the clock circuit would keep going, and that would just, as you can see, it will give a signal through this, and then a signal through that, and signal through this, signal through that, so that it will continually fire those just a few ticks apart to make sure they don't explode at the same time, which would then evolve and then turn into a big disaster yet again, just like the one that destroyed this poor little sign at the start. So yeah, when you turn it off, it then pushes the block back down again, and then next time the clock circuit goes through, this isn't a solid block, so it won't keep the clock circuit going, and therefore not dispensing any more TNT out of the dispenser. So that's about it for the automatic one. Actually, no. How to build. I've completely forgotten how to build. Come on, Dom. How could you forget how to build? I'm disappointed. So, how to build. We basically have the piston with the lever, as you can see, the block, which makes the clock circuit. You don't really need to have redstone here. You could have a block as well. I just thought it looks a little bit neater if you have the redstone, which then goes in there. So you have blocks up, and then blocks along with repeaters. All of these 4 repeaters set to 4 ticks on top with the dispenser with TNT. This is a pressure plate on top of a fence, as you can see. The pressure plate stops the water coming through, and then the fence is that half a block so that TNT can go on it. And then next to that we have the blocks up in an L shape here with an observer changing that L shape into a T with redstone on top, which acts as our activation symbol, which leads to the dispensers, and yet again the clock circuit with the hole in the middle. Hole in the middle, hole in the middle, hole in the middle. Hole in the middle. Now we have 3 designs done. The what's that called? The ground shot, the slimer, and the automatic. Now we're moving on to the mini slime. Range of 35 blocks. An area needed 4 by 1 by 2, so it's tiny. And it's tiny. Well, yeah, it's tiny. And only 1 TNT needed again, because it's the same with all slime block things. So if we just see it working, and we go boop, and there we go. I sort of find this kind of thing very satisfying, because you just press the button and then it pushes it across and it goes up. So boop. Sometimes it does sometimes glitch and my stomach glitches, but then it glitches back up. I don't know why that happens, but it does, but it still works, so it's all good. So you can see we have the boop. So the piston pushes, then this piston pushes up, just 1 tick later than this piston, so it's a very short space of time that's just enough for the TNT to move across to this piston. So in terms of how to build, it's quite easy. It is quite easy, most definitely rather easy. So we have dispenser with a button. This can be a wooden button. It's just I prefer the stone button because you get a faster firing rate, because it's not pushed as long. Oh, that's a glitch again. So yeah, and then we have a repeater with 2 ticks, repeater with 3 ticks, leading to a block up, and then piston pushing this way, slime block which pushes the TNT across, and then which goes into this, which powers the piston, pushing the TNT back up. So you may have noticed with the design, it's actually 1 wide, which is, it's very exciting for us who, like to do tileable machines. It means you can just stack them next to each other like this, but with slime blocks you don't actually need the extra piston, so I've just got 1 pushing all of them. And so yeah, with a bit of modifying you can create a machine like this, which fires 4 TNT at the same time. This of course can be expanded up until 12 blocks, because that's the piston push limit, so I could have 12 TNT in a row there, which would be rather devastating. It's also a very easy and efficient design, because the slight modification we had to do, because you can't power all of these individually from the top or the side because the slime block's in the way. I had to put a redstone line underneath, and then with observers as well. This is a crater of past explosions, so we'll ignore that for now. So yeah, we have the observers facing up, so you can see when we flick the lever once, turns it either on or off, updating the observers, sending the TNT, which powers the TNT, and then we have that same setup with the 2-tick, 3-tick repeater. And there we go. So now we have a few accessories which you can add to your TNT cannons to customize them or even improve them or just change how they function. So first off, we have fairly self-explanatory ones. More dispensers, more TNT equals more firepower and therefore better. Moving on to the second accessory we can add to our TNT cannons, we have clock circuits. We've already seen one of these in our TNT cannon, which is this. We can use a similar sort of setup for any of these TNT cannons really, which will just make them repeat over and over again, and therefore not needing to press the button every time and then getting it wrong and then it blows up, which is always a relief to have someone do that for you without it blowing up. To our final accessory, as you've seen this in a few of them by now, we had height limits to adjust the angle of fire. So basically, putting a slab over the TNT firing bit will make it either lower or higher, depending on what you want, and can actually make it more powerful if we have the, for example, in the low and hard one, where the TNT is forced against the roof and then shot out over that way. So now, onto the big one. The Almighty, with a range of 200 blocks, an area needed 5 long, 5 wide, and 6 high. I think this is the only. No. Right now, forget what I said. And specialities. Powerful. So let's see it work. Let's go. So dispensers firing and ready. And boom! That is a big explosion, as you can see. TNT has gone all the way to here, which isn't its maximum range, I agree, but if we had all this filled in, it would have gone all the way out to here, which is where one of them have gone before, and I'm quite impressed, because I think that's 24 pieces of firing TNT, and that's pretty impressive for one that can shoot. I'll just fire it again because it's quite satisfying watching these big TNT cannons work, as you can see, and boom! There we go. A bit longer this time, but not as far as our record ones, because life. Life won't ever always give you the best stuff, so you just gotta deal with it. Good life lesson, kids. Learn from this. So yeah, so basically you press the button, activates the redstone, which goes up this mini tower, goes onto the top layer, and then the middle layer from that piece down there, and then the bottom layer from this block being powered by the button, and then powering all that, which is the same technique as our ground shot TNT cannon, with the redstone torch unpowering and then powering again, the falling edge of the button to activate our dispenser. Yet again, you will see we have the height limits being used effectively to make this the really low and hard, powerful shot, which can carry to nearly 200 blocks. So, how to build, basically. It's actually exactly the same as this one, except this layer is moved up a layer, and then we have an extra one in between. So as you can see, we also have that slab to prevent the TNT from landing there, and then having it all blow up, as you've actually witnessed from this. We still have a bit of a remains of the crater. I better have to clean that up, but not now, I'm recording. Okay, so yeah, that is the Almighty, the second best TNT cannon in this video. You may have been wondering, you may have seen this big cannon and thought, I wonder what that does. Well, do not fear, your answers are soon to be granted, and I can guarantee you will probably be surprised by the outcome of this. And here we go. Let's get in a good position so the audience can see. And boom! Look at that epic scattergun shot we had here, opening up the whole ravine of all of our previous explosions. And if you see, they will go all the way out to here. That's crazy! It's out of render distance. Since when were TNT cannons meant to be this OP? God. So I won't explain how this works. This could deserve an entire video to itself. This was just to show the design of this. This isn't my design originally. It's originally designed by QB, and then I've just compacted the design and made it a lot more efficient, and just made it smaller basically, and changed its area needed from 13 by 24 to 9 by 19 using a variety of different things. Let's just fill up our big hole that we made over there. And so yeah, I may make a video going out to this, but I probably won't. You can just go and look up QB's artillery sniper rifle. I'll put the link in the description so you can check that out. And yeah, it's epic. Congrats on whoever designed this. It may have been QB himself, it may have been someone else. There are other designs of this, but none as compact as this. So yeah, I'll just briefly explain how it works for the audience. So we have press the button, which powers, and then it goes into this sensor, powers the block, which powers the other two dispensers, and it's the same with all of these along here. I've used a target block, so we don't need another piece of redstone, so we can have enough for this to go under. And then, which a target block, it actually redirects redstone dust, so then it will still take the power off this block using that repeater, and again powering those three blocks. It's the same on the other side. This design is completely symmetrical. And if we have a look at the firing TNT, which is a bit more complex, we have the redstone going across, 7 repeaters of delay, which makes it so that as this ends just before the TNT actually explodes. Because if we see, we have it ignites, and then that fires, and then just before the entire thing explodes. There we go. It's quite an event. I'm sure you agree. So yeah, we have the going to here. This is a comparator on subtract mode, which basically subtracts the main input of it with this input. So basically what it does is creates a very quick redstone clock which fires our firing dispensers 5 times, giving us that firepower of 60 TNT in here, which then scatter over that large range over there. I seem to have forgotten this gun. This TNT cannon, it's actually rather different to all of the others. It's called the manual spam. Quite an intuitive name, but there you go. With a range of 23 blocks. Not very good, but I'm just showcasing the idea that this sort of thing can be created with a area needed of 7 by 1 by 6 high, and speciality a manual automatic. You may be confused as to what that means, but I'll show you in just. So what this means is that manual, meaning you have to place the TNT in yourself. Ooh, look, we have the firing just there. So yeah, you have to place the TNT in yourself. But if you actually hold down right click, I'm not clicking like separately. This is me holding down right click, and you can see that it is automatically placing TNT. So that's the automatic side of it. But now I'll explain how it works. It's rather complex, as you can see. So basically involves a bit of bud powering and quasi connectivity. So we place the TNT. This piston realizes it's powered because due to quasi connectivity, this piston is powering this piston, and then which goes across, which activates the redstone, torch up, which then retracts the block, which means it retracts that redstone block, but not before this piston is extended, pushing the TNT across, and then 1 tick later, after this is extended, so it all happens in a 3 tick amount of time, so 1 tick later, this piston then goes up with the slime blocks, giving our up motion. So as you can see, we have the push and then the up of the TNT cannon. So into how it builds, I'm sure just by giving you this little overview here, you can see how it works, or see how to build it rather, not how it works. Just explain that, and then, well, yeah, it's cool. It's just here. It's not very good for range and stuff, but it's just to show that the design is possible to have that manual automatic thing. And this is actually could be rather useful in survival if you don't have those valuable resources of dispensers. But if you do have a gunpowder farm, yeah, stuff like this will be very useful. So I've just shown that here. So yeah, that is all 6 of our TNT cannons today, and some little accessories we see behind me here. And thank you for watching. I hope this video has helped you answer with any of your needs. If you feel like building some TNT cannons, or just feel like watching some TNT cannons blow everything up, who knows, I may even make an entire video just of me blowing up stuff with TNT cannons. It's rather satisfying, I think you'll agree. So yeah, that's all 6 of our cannons, and yeah, hope you've enjoyed. This was Oogly Boogly, and I'm out. See ya!